This is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and today I'm continuing with my build of the BigTreeTech EBB SB2209 CAN board for the Stealthburner. So let's go ahead and get started. Now, as I mentioned, I'm going to work on the build today, and I'll probably flash the firmware in my next video because that's the steps there are a little involved. And I need to point out that this has been nothing but a disaster for me. It has zero to do with the BigTreeTech board and everything to do with me accidentally deleting videos, me accidentally breaking parts, me accidentally doing everything. Apparently, I'm very rough on equipment. I started to mount things, and when I mounted the motor board, I somehow stripped the threaded inserts, so they're just spinning. Then I can't get this piece out, so I had to reprint pieces. I had to take everything apart, put it back together again, and then created the whole video and accidentally deleted that. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to sort of start over again and go through these steps. Now, you won't see me doing much of the wiring because I've already done it and deleted that video, but I just want to talk about things and show you where I'm at. I have most of the pieces together. Now, the first step here is to go ahead and put the first board into the fan portion of the Stealthburner. Let me switch over and I'll show you those instructions. So you mount the board right here, and then I've gone ahead and done the wiring. The first fan here is for the part fan, and it's red, then black. Black is on the outside, red's on the inside. The hot end fan is again red, then black. So it's red, black, red, black. And then the hardest part was trying to figure out how to do the LEDs. Now, I think I have this correct. And I stress think because I'm going to have to set everything up to see. But if I go over here to Brave, I found this drawing on AliExpress. And so based on this drawing and based on how things were set up, if I scroll down, looking at this, I believe that this is the order of the wires here. And I've used that to go ahead and wire everything here. Now, I should point out that one of the changes you need to make is there's two sets of jumpers here, right in this area, and you need to set those appropriately for your fans. In my case, I'm using 24-volt fans, and if you look really, really closely at the board, you can actually see it'll say VIN, and you just want to put a jumper there. Now, I'm going to point out that these jumpers are extremely small. So you're probably going to need a pair of tweezers. Let me just show you the jumpers. So that's a jumper right there. So again, they're tiny. I had to use tweezers to get them on. And if I switch over to my tripod, maybe we can see them on the printer. Now, it's hard to see them here, but the jumpers right in this area here. So both of those are set to 24 volts. And you can see at this point, I have everything wired up over here. In order to do the breakout board, you really need to have your hot end and the Stealthburner mounted. You don't need the front plate on yet. So if I look at the wiring for the board, here is what the cord looks like by default. So there's a little JST connector here with green and yellow wire, CAN L and CAN H, and then a 24-volt connection here. Now, in order to make this work, I'm using an SKR3, and let's look at that board. So here's the manual for the SKR3. I'm going to scroll down here, and I should have bookmarked this. Let's look for the diagrams here. So here's the CAN connections right here. And if I look here, there's CAN L and CAN H. So this is a 6 connector here And then for my power, I'm going to put it into the hot end power over here. Now, let's go look over at the board and see what this actually looks like. So if we look here, I have the power right up at the top here, and that's black and then red. And then I took out the 2 JST connector and changed it to a 6 JST connector. And that way I could just plug it securely right into the board. So I have that plugged into the board. There's a switch in here that can go from USB to CAN. And I just want to leave that on USB mode. So let's just look at the directions real quick so you can see what that looks like. So based on what this is telling me in the directions, it can be in USB mode or CAN mode. Now, I saw a couple posts online that lead me to believe that I should just leave it in USB mode and the CAN will still work with that. So that's what I've gone ahead and done. On my next step, I've gone ahead and mounted the hot end, and so now it's on the printer. And I've previously recorded this next section of video, so I apologize for that. So I'm traveling back in time, and you can follow along with what I do for the wiring for the Stealthburner. So I'm resuming my install of the BigTreeTech EBB SB2209 breakout board for the Stealthburner. It's been quite the adventure. I've had to pause several times because of broken parts. Apparently, the Stealthburner is not set up for a bull in a china shop, which I certainly am. Here's a piece I had, and what basically has happened, I tried to reposition something, and the dang heated inserts came out on both sides of these screws, so I had to reprint pieces, take things apart, put it back together. Now, this is in no way reflecting badly on the BigTreeTech board, which I still really like. It's more an issue with the fact that I'm a little rough on these pieces. So that's something just to be aware of. Something to know that, hey, you got to be very gentle with this stuff. Now, what I've done is I have multiple pieces here that I have to hook up. And of course, pull this back down. I think this needs to go around. So I have my wiring for the BL Touch right here. Now, if you notice, I've also installed an end stop here. And so I can plug in the BL Touch right here. I'm going to plug in the motor. That's back over here. Right here. So the motor is now plugged in. And definitely when you install this board, you're going to want it all mounted, is the one thing I found. Now, I mentioned I've put this end stop in, and BigTreeTech gives you all the connectors you could possibly need. So that's been real helpful. So I've been able to take everything, all the connectors they've given me, and used everything. So let's see if I can plug this in without breaking the wires. Okay, so I have my end stop in. So the extruder's plugged in, end stop's in. Now I have the wires for the thermistor, and that's going to go here. And then the hot end, which I'll have to figure out where that goes. So let me pause and look at the wiring a little bit and figure out where the rest of this needs to go. So my next step is to go ahead and hook up the hot end. Now looking at this, looks like I'm going to go behind the USB-C port here. And I'm using this connector right here. Now it's saying how much length of wire. I'm just going to guesstimate because I didn't measure before I put it in there. Maybe I should have. As you can see, I have the connector on. As far as I can tell, that's supposed to go back here. And I might have to move this around just so I can see. I can't see too well at this angle. So let me pause, plug that in. So I have the hot end hooked up now, and I'm not sure. I definitely did not leave enough slack. So you definitely want to give some more space there when you're trying to put that together. The last thing I need to do is hook up the thermistor. So I'm going to strip those wires and plug that all in. And then that should be all the wiring. Then I just need to put on the front cover and snap it all together. As far as I can tell, I have everything wired. It looks correct. I will say this, some of those connectors that came with this are really hard to get together. So hopefully I've wired everything correctly. I'm more worried about the connectors coming out, but we'll see what happens. So as my last step here, I'm going to go ahead and put the front plate on. I'm hoping connectors on this area line up with what I have over here. Again, hopefully I've done all this correctly. Everything looks like it's wired right, so I'm really hopeful. So let me give it a shot. So I was able to snap everything together so you can see it's all in place. Now let me finish the wiring on my board. And I think I showed you what I had to do down there. Now I just need to make sure everything's still connected in the board and then run the wire up the back here. So let's look at the directions. Yeah, so I just have to basically run the wire from the bed up to here. Now it's looking like there's some wire clips and all that. I haven't printed those, but for right now, I'll just leave it as is. I'll use a twist tie to put things together and then see if I can figure out what the next steps are. So now I have the hardware all set up for the BigTreeTech EBB SB2209. I'm going to pause for the day because it really has been a long time putting this all together. And again, it has nothing to do with BigTreeTech's board. It has more to do with me being too rough with my pieces and parts. In my next video, I'll go ahead and put together the CAN boot software and update the firmware, and I'll walk you through those steps. So thanks. Have a good day. Hope to talk to you soon. Bye. Hi, this is Mike from Minimal 3DP, and I want to thank you for joining me today. If you have any questions or comments, please post them below. If you need some additional help, I've also posted some links in the video description. You can set up a 15-minute help session with me, and I'm more than happy to sit down with you and see if I can help you out. If you need some additional help, I'm also going to try doing 1-hour sessions for anybody that's interested. And like I said, I'm testing this stuff out. I want to thank you again for joining me, and I look forward to talking to you again next time. Thanks. Have a good day. Bye.